Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and what a delight to have back with us today Liz Peek. She's a columnist for FoxNews.com and the Fiscal Times. Spent over 20 years on Wall Street as a top-ranked research analysis with her firms and everything that she's done in analyzing business. And the last time we talked to her, we were just going into the presidential debate, so now we're on the other side, and I really value her input as to what she thought happened there and where we're going. Hi, Liz. Good to see you.
Nice to be with you. Thank you.
Good to see you again. Well, what was your take after the big debate?
My take was totally wrong. Actually, I got Carly Fiorina right. I think that was she was definitely the person who won the so-called kiddie table debate. But I really thought that voters would react negatively to Trump's bullying. And instead, I think, that such is the tenor of the moment that people actually responded favorably to that. I didn't. I think that, he's rude, he's arrogant, and he's not my kind of person. So I really didn't think that he did very well or came across well. And in fact, his unfavorables did go up after the debate, which I sort of anticipated. But you got to give him credit. He's just kind of like a steamroller. He just keeps bullying forward, and he continues to do very well in polling. So there you are.
He took a lot of flack, at least for about 3.5 seconds, over his comment to Megyn Kelly and his comment about Rosie O'Donnell, which seemed to accelerate the war on women for about 30 seconds, and then it went away.
It's just amazing to me. I mean, the explanations for, I've heard these conspiracy theories about how Fox is involved in this and how Megyn Kelly went on vacation to get away from Trump. I mean, it's such baloney. I can tell you, as someone who has talked to some of the people involved, Megyn Kelly had a vacation coming, and she's taking it like about half the people at Fox right now. And that had nothing to do with Donald Trump. Look, at the end of the day, here's a reality that's very tough to escape. Donald Trump is a gigantic celebrity, and so he has the enormous advantage of basically being able to make a phone call to any news station in the country, including yours, and get immediate airtime. That is a big deal because his ratings are gigantic. Everyone is very eager to see what he's going to say next and whether he's going to engage in, yet another brawl. So, look, I mean, I think that he's just going to kind of keep rolling forward here until something changes. And what'll that be? It's not going to be that he runs out of money. He might decide he doesn't want to spend a huge amount of his personal money on a campaign. So far, he hasn't. Again, he's got all this free publicity, so he's not buying ads or anything. And he hasn't really hired a big ground force of the kind that you do ultimately need in states like Iowa and New Hampshire to kind of rally and sign up your voters. So it may be that at some point he sort of says, wait a minute, I'm not really sure I want to dip into my own bank account to that extent. Or he just creates such an incredible gaffe of some sort that he can't recover from it. So, you have to kind of ask yourself, what are the red lines these days? As you point out, it appears that red lines for Trump are kind of pink. He can kind of traipse over being insulting and crude about women, get away with it. It's sort of amazing to me.
If you add Trump, Fiorina, and Carson, you add those numbers together, it's saying something about the Beltway.
No question about it. People are tired of so-called establishment politicians. A lot of people, Scott Walker's out on the stump today talking about how Mitch McConnell's really the bad person in the race. Of course, if you're a Republican, and I am, the really sad thing that's come out of all this is that, we are eating our young. I mean, everyone's going after each other. Scott Walker's going after Mitch McConnell and Jeb Bush, and Trump is going after absolutely everybody and actually even refusing to say that he will run as a Republican and not as an independent. I mean, this is pretty tough stuff for Republicans. And the only consolation, I guess, is that Democrats are even in worse shape. They've got a candidate who is truly, seriously flawed and floundering, and none of her rivals are really serious candidates, in my view. None of them is willing to really challenge her. So boy, is it a messy primary season.
It really is. Sticking with the Republicans just for a moment, there were some bumps. Carly came up significantly. She's now looked like she's going to be in the top tier for the next debate coming up in September. Rubio went up. Cruz went up. Huckabee went up. What do you think?
I thought Rubio did a really spectacular job, and also did Carly Fiorina. I mean, as much as we're all enjoying the Trump phenomenon, where he talks in broken sentences and can't really put together a coherent paragraph, these two really can articulate a point of view very well. And I think that viewers and voters appreciate that. They have policy positions that are well thought out. Cruz, obviously, ditto, is an extremely capable debater. We all know he went to Princeton. He's very smart debater. You know, the candidates who actually could express their point of view well, and Huckabee's a natural at that, all did pretty well. You know, look, there's a lot of time to go, and I think Karl Rove was on Fox this morning saying, look, at various times we've had Herman Cain, Giuliani, Michelle Bachmann, and Newt Gingrich twice in the lead, significantly in the lead, in campaigns, Hillary Clinton in 2008, where it looked like they had it locked up, and then it kind of faltered. So there's a lot of road to travel before we get to the primaries even, much less the general election.
Some are saying that there is nothing to base this cycle on. It's so outside the box that we're in uncharted waters. Would you think so?
Well, I don't think we've ever had a candidate quite like Donald Trump in terms of his celebrity, the fact that he has so much money to spend on an election. I mean, you kind of search your memory. Obviously, we had Fred Thompson, but he was here and gone in a minute, and didn't really have any money to spend, and never really kind of geared up to actually put a campaign together. I was thinking back to the Barry Goldwater election, and that was in 1964, and I was a kid, and he was considered outrageous because he said really outlier things about bombing China, remember, and bombing Vietnam, using nuclear war, and the Republicans nominated him because he had a very strong following in the base, if you call it the base, the primary voters, and he got just completely walloped because his ideas really, when it came to sort of mainstream Americans, they just couldn't really deal with the idea that we were going to wage nuclear war against someone in Asia. So I think the answer is I don't remember a time like this. Maybe historians can go back into the 18 or 1900s and come up with a parallel. I don't see one. It's everybody hates the establishment. That's kind of what you come away thinking. And here's the thing. Republican voters are mad because they went to bat in 2014, gave the Senate over to the Republicans, and they expected to see more from that election than we've seen. And the only thing I'd say about that is, first of all, a lot of the things that make people so angry these days are the executive actions that Obama has put forward on climate change and on immigration. Well, there's not much you can do. I mean, those things are in the courts. They're going to be in the courts for a while. But the Congress doesn't really have much to say about that unless it can find some way to defund part of that process. And ditto, people wanted to see Obamacare repealed. Look, he's got veto power. Obama still has enough votes in the House and the Senate to basically uphold a veto of any measure that the Republicans put forward. So I think the criticism of the establishment, meaning McConnell and Boehner in particular, is a little overdone. I understand the frustration, but McConnell in particular is really determined, as a longtime senator and observer of our constitutional process and how Congress is supposed to work, of kind of going back to more normal functioning. He's very proud of the fact that we have amendments being put forward now where Harry Reid just squashed all efforts to amend various bills and so forth. Well, Americans aren't very excited about that. They don't see much to take home from that. But, I kind of agree that it's important to get back to the normal functioning of Congress.
One quick question before we take a break. It appears that maybe Trump has gotten a little cracked this last 24 hours on his immigration policy. Can you imagine gathering up millions and throwing them over the fence? Would we tolerate that?
No, I don't think we'll tolerate it. We're not going to do it. and no one's going to be elected, I don't think, who really proposes such a thing. Look, I think we do have to deal with the people in the country illegally. You don't call it amnesty. Republicans can't offer up amnesty because we've seen in the past, and that's a legitimate grievance, that it only invites more people across our border, just as, by the way, President Obama's mini DREAM Act did in 2012. Definitely opened the border to the surge that we saw in 2013. Somehow we have to allow some legal status for people in the country. I would say no, never citizenship, because they haven't earned that, but some sort of legal representation here, and then make sure that that's the end of it, that we do not have a border that's as porous as it has been, because that's not, I mean, Trump's right. A nation without borders is not a nation of laws, and we pride ourselves on being a rule of law nation.
All right, let me take a break. Liz Peek is back with us. You can go to lizpeek.com. That's her website, lizpeek.com. And, of course, foxnews.com, and then, of course, the Fiscal Times. But we'll get into Hillary when we get back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Welcome back. What a delight to have back with us today Liz Peek. She's a columnist for foxnews.com and the Fiscal Times. Her website is lizpeek.com. You might want to check that out, lizpeek.com. Well, Liz, again, thank you for your time. It appears that Hillary has just got unbelievable trouble. Newt said yesterday he doesn't think she's going to get the nomination. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting. There's been some polling recently that shows a great deal of doubt now about whether or not she will get the nomination. I think people have to kind of calm down, though, because you have to then say who's going to get it instead. I don't think it's going to be Bernie Sanders. I really think a 73-year-old socialist is really not someone who can go the distance. And so far, really, nobody else has come in who's a serious challenger. Now, I think Joe Biden could come in the race. That might actually excite some potential there. But so far, she isn't really challenged. And here's the amazing thing. In spite of all the stuff that's come out, 78% of Democrats still consider her honest and trustworthy. So let's face it, there are a lot of people who might vote for Hillary Clinton who don't follow the news, who actually believe her when she says it's all a vast right-wing conspiracy. I mean, I find that kind of amazing because I live in the political weeds, and I don't know how anyone honestly could come up with that as an explanation, or who actually could still believe what she says. But, you know, anyway, there's a pretty big following out there that still likes her a lot. But that said, I don't think, honestly, if she's the nominee, that she'll win the nomination. I think the Republicans would have to nominate someone completely incapable of appealing to the country overall before she's going to be elected, because this email issue just is going to continue to go on. I mean, now with the FBI conducting an investigation, which could take months, if not a year, there will be constant revelations about that, constant references to it throughout the next year. It's certainly going to be fodder for anyone who opposes her, either for the Democratic nomination or in the general election. So, yeah, I think she has problems. By the way, the best thing about the email scandal from Hillary's viewpoint is it's taken everyone's eyes off the foundation issues, because those are equally unseemly and tawdry and possibly even illegal. The trading of favors and votes and particular attentions while she was as Secretary of State for monies passed to the foundation and paid to Bill Clinton. That's a terrible story. And the only thing, again, because of the email scandal, which is sort of more current, we've kind of stopped talking about it. But there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, very well said, by the way. I think it's interesting that now they're saying there's more than one server. They were found in a closet, in her bathroom. I mean, this gets this gets crazier by the moment. But sooner or later, they're going to find the emails that connect the dots on Benghazi, and I can't imagine that Trey Gowdy's going to let that slide by. He is a dog with a sock when it comes to this issue.
He really is. And, you know, he's taken a lot of guff for spending so much time and effort on this. But let's face it, we would not know or really have looked into this private server issue without the Trey Gowdy investigation. I was thinking about that this morning. I mean, the man deserves a round of applause, right? Because really this is a problem. I mean, you can't, as Secretary of State, one of the highest offices in the land, completely disregard the security issues attendant to having a private email server, and also just the wanton disregard for custom and sort of what the policy is of your own government. So I think it's an embarrassment to the State Department. And by the way, no one has talked much about the various issues that have pitted the State Department against our intelligence agencies. You know, they're kind of fighting over emails, what should be revealed. The State Department, as you probably know, basically told investigators there were no emails that had been sent by one of her aides. Now it turns out there are like 30,000 of them or something. It's unbelievable. And this is all under the Obama White House. And what can they be thinking of all of this? This is a reflection on how the White House was managed. And I don't know about you, but all this stuff about how nobody knew she was using a private server, when you get an email, don't you look at the address? If it was Hillary Clinton at clintonemail.org or com, don't you think that would have kind of raised a few eyebrows? I think the whole thing's kind of unimaginable, honestly, and attests to the very, very poor management of this administration, which I think is really one of the worst ever.
If the president wanted to, you think he could call the dogs off on this investigation?
Good question. Now, I don't think he really could. Now I think it's, the FBI has it, their teeth are in it. I have to think that in our intelligence organizations and law enforcement generally, there are a few people who are not so keen on the Obama administration. I could be totally wrong about that, but I think that the pretty heavy-handed direction of Eric Holder and so forth these past 6 years have probably left some scars. And there may be some people in that organization that really just kind of want to press this, want to see where it goes. And the Benghazi thing also, don't forget, involves some pretty high up people in our intelligence organizations, et cetera. Again, they may feel they've been thrown under the bus a time or two. So I'm not sure that the Obama White House could pull the plug on this just yet.
Okay. The president seems to be now very worried about his legacy. There's even rumors about where he might end up living. Some say Hawaii, some say Chicago, some say he's going to stay right there inside the Beltway. Aside from that, what could he look for to be a legacy that would be something he could hang his hat on? Well,
it's an interesting realization that when you elect somebody in their 40s, they're going to be around for a very long time. And so their conduct, the conduct of a very young president going forward for decades, we don't really know what that looks like, right? Because John F. Kennedy was a young president, but he obviously was killed in office. So I think it's going to be very interesting to watch. President Obama is, I think, someone who's very concerned with his self-image. He's very worried about how history will view him. So if someone was suggesting to me that he really wants to see a Republican elected, this is a little far-fetched, because he doesn't want to have all his policies kind of roll forward and inevitably get banged up a little bit. For example, Obamacare. 2018 rolls around and we have the Cadillac tax imposed. What's that going to look like? My guess is the unions are going to go crazy. It's going to really drive healthcare costs for the majority of Americans through the roof. Maybe he would just as soon not have to experience that. If there's a Republican president, maybe that won't happen. So I do think it's going to be interesting. They're talking about him living in D.C. because one of their kids is still in school there. That seems possible to me, but honestly, not very dignified. Once you're president and you're gone, I think you should leave D.C. That's too close to the center of the political vortex, and I think it would be really unseemly to kind of have him looking over the shoulder, figuratively or whatever, of the next president, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. My guess is I'm worried they're going to come to New York, which really would be kind of difficult for New Yorkers, just in terms of congestion and all the pomp and ceremony that goes with a president living here. But I think it's not impossible.
Okay, so the other possibility is the deal with Iran, and if that could be part of his legacy. But do you think that thing is veto-proof?
I think it's veto-proof. I don't think you're going to have enough Democrats who basically flaunt their disaffection with the White House and sign up to oppose it. But you raise a good point. What will Obama want to be doing after the White House? Certainly working on climate change. At least that's certainly been something that he has talked about for years and years. And let's face it, the measures that he's taken to restrict emissions through the EPA, as I said, they're going to be tied up in the courts. They may or may not survive. So, you know, Al Gore has that territory sort of staked out, but Al Gore is not as visible as he once was. That could become Obama's cause, or he could picture himself as sort of a global pacifist, you know, going around and inserting himself into negotiations, not the hard negotiations. He's not good at that. And he's really sort of a strange character in the sense he doesn't really like to mix with people very much, but at least be sort of a talking head on what we should be doing in terms of foreign relations. That would be the most ironic outcome, because most of us think he's done a pretty terrible job on foreign relations. Yeah. But he could picture himself as, you know, a fellow or sort of a related dignitary at the Kennedy School or SAIS or one of these organizations, and you know, have something to say on every foreign problem. I mean, as I say, sort of ironic.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, again, lizpeek.com if you want to correspond with her through the website. Liz, back to the candidates. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be some falling out. They just don't have the money to stay in it. We're about 4 or 5 months away from the primary season now. So the Chris Christies, the Rand Pauls, the Gindells, the Gilmores, do you think they'll begin to fall out?
I hope so. I hope so, because right now, you know, one of the things that's also helping Donald Trump is that if you put his numbers together with all the rest put together, he's only at 26% of the Republican voter pool, and you know, that leaves 75% for someone else. But yeah, I think that, look, George Pataki should not be in the race. Jim Gilmore should not be in the race. Those guys came in for who knows what personal reasons, but in Pataki's case, probably to build his law practice. Time for them to get out. I think that Santorum, Christie, I don't know. Christie's got some backers, as does Rand Paul. I don't think they're going to go the distance, but both may stay in for a little while longer. But yeah, I definitely think by the time of the next debate, we'll have a couple of candidates crash and burn. And I think that'll be good. Honestly, we don't need more people in this race. We certainly don't need 16 or 17.
No, we don't. I mean, it's hard enough to keep track of just the top 5 or 10. Well, thank you, Liz. What a delight to have you back. And let's stay in touch as this thing progresses. I guess the next debate will be there at the Reagan Library on the 16th of September. CNN is hosting this one, and it looks like Carly has worked her way up to be a part of the main debate, so this ought to be pretty interesting.
I think it will be interesting, and I think it's going to be very interesting if these guys ask Trump difficult questions, which he doesn't like, whether he'll go after them and whether voters will begin to see that it really wasn't Megyn Kelly, it's anyone taking him on. By the way, I recommend to you the interview he did just recently with Chuck Todd. It's just hilarious reading, and it's just vintage Trump. So I got quite a bit of fun out of reading it, so I'm sure you will too.
He took a swipe at Carly the other day and said she really wasn't a good CEO. That could come up in the debate, and she takes a swipe back. I mean, all of a sudden, there's the war on women again.
Yeah, I mean, look, Carly Fiorina has a little bit, you know, that's, I think, why she didn't do better in her Senate race in California. Yes, she became CEO of a big organization, but let's face it, she was fired. Now, Donald Trump's had some pretty big problems in his business career, too. So, you know, I think it's unseemly for him just to sort of act as though everyone else is an idiot. Unless your name is Trump, you don't have any sense whatsoever. That's kind of his talking point. I don't find it very attractive.
You know, you're spot on with the bullying thing, no question about it. Thank you, Liz. Let's get together again soon. Thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, all right. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Welcome back, and what a delight to have back with us today our good friend Dave Crowe. He is the founder and president of Restore America, and you can go to restoreamerica.org, one of the great websites and resources for all of the things that we talk about here. And let me encourage you to go there, take advantage of all the materials, support what they do, and be a part of the movement that's going on here in the state of Oregon. Hi, buddy. Good to see you.
Hey, Perry. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, good to see you.
We're hooked up this time.
Yeah, you're looking good. Hey, listen, I want to go through the survey that you did. Restore America put out a survey. It was very good, Dave. Thanks for doing it. It was done right after the debates, but you included a couple of other questions in there. But let's first go to the first tier candidates. That would have been the earlier debate. And any surprises there for you?
Yes, frankly. There was no surprise with Carly Fiorini because I thought she was outstanding. But I was surprised. I started following this within a couple of hours after I put it out to see people's responses and the survey results. I was surprised that Ted Cruz did so well. You know, he's kind of a dark horse here, but he's consistent in the things that he says, the things he stands for. And I think that really reflects that the Christians are getting it. They're watching, they're paying attention to what he's saying, paying attention to his interviews, paying attention to what he's saying. So consistently all the way through, that held strong for Ted Cruz. And so that's just a survey of all the people on my list that responded and folks that came on with Facebook and took a shot at it too.
Yeah,
so
it showed that Carly won the first one, Ted Cruz won the second one. Close second was Ben Carson, Mike Huckabee, then Marco Rubio, and then Scott Walker. Now, since the debate, there's been a phenomenon. The whole Trump thing is kind of an interesting thing. But if you add Trump with Fiorina and Carson, the three outsiders, non-political, they're pulling some pretty big numbers. What's that tell you?
It tells me the same thing I'm sure that it tells you, and that is that people are sick and tired of Washington, D.C., and like we were saying, career politicians. That's what Carly Fiorini is saying. And I think she's got a lot of people listening to her. And so Donald Trump may be saying it as well, but we're hearing a lot more. The media is giving way too much attention, I think, to Donald Trump. And but anyway, that's what's happening, is that people are sick and tired of it, and they're taking advantage of the opportunity to speak out and speak their mind. And so all this stuff that we see coming down the pike from the progressive voice here in America is getting a pushback, strong pushback.
All right. You did some more surveying there, and some of the issues were very interesting to me. You dealt with subjects like integrity, Christian worldview, and things like that. Were you surprised how that came out?
You know, actually, it was very gratifying because when you figured out, when I put that together to find out as best I could what people thought about a presidential candidate in terms of his character, his integrity, his Christian worldview, which I think are all important. And so I slid all of those in there to give people an array of choices where they could pick and prioritize. And they did that. So to me, it tells me that at least the people on my list, so the Facebook responders, were saying, hey, character is really important. So is Christian worldview, integrity. All of those are important. And down the list, they're none of them really unimportant, but there's a consistency in that. So it's telling me that people understand what we want in a president. People are looking for those characteristics, and that's very encouraging.
Dave, back to the heart of what you do, and that's getting Christians registered and to vote. And 2008, we didn't turn out. 2012, we didn't turn out. Now, 2016, and some of these survey numbers and some of these questions you're asking is indicating that maybe the Christians are starting to get involved again. Can we bank on it?
No, you can't. You know how long I've been following this now for over 15 years, and actually longer than that. But with all the efforts of FRC, Tony Perkins, AFA, Don Wildman, et cetera, calling forth for Christians to be involved and engaged, it's fairly consistent through each one of these election cycles that there's a certain percentage of Christians who are engaged, and you can count on their votes. But there's way too many who are not even registered. And you've seen the numbers that I put up. Over 12 million are not even registered. They're eligible but not registered. And then there's another 10 million or so who are registered and don't bother to vote. They're disengaged, they're disinterested, they've gone fishing, whatever the excuse is, they didn't vote. And that's of great concern. All we really need in this country is about 5 million more evangelical votes. About 75% of them will vote conservatively. The others are kind of confused, and they turn out because it's kind of an obligation, and they just guess or pick what they saw on TV the last week or so from somebody. But the heart of the matter is we need the leadership from pastors. And I think some of the things I can send you will show that George Barna's work with United in Purpose, the things that he's doing show very definitely that between an opinion on their part about what they will do or what they think they will do and what they actually do to engage their people to vote are two different things, vastly different. So there's a huge fall off in terms of what pastors say they will do and what they actually do in their church. And one of those is voter registration. It's very simple. Voter registration, non-voter registration.
And you're very good at keeping us apprised of those dates and the final dates and all of that. Before I take a break, I got one other quick question, and it kind of ties in with what we're talking about here. What I'm hearing now from a lot in the faith community is they like what Donald Trump is saying, but there doesn't seem to be any Christian worldview there. And if he ends up being the nominee, we're right back to square one. There's no motivation for the Christian to come out.
That's right. That's right. And frankly, Perry, we can get into this, but I think that Donald Trump talking with Bill Clinton and playing golf with him this last weekend, there's no love really lost between the Clintons and Barack Obama. So you got to figure there's something behind this. And the fact that Clinton called and talked to Barack Obama, I believe that this is kind of a setup, a possible setup for if he doesn't get his way or if he doesn't get nominated, he's going to do a third party thing. It's a Donald Trump thing. It's characteristic. It's all about Donald Trump. And that'll really kill our choices right there. Can't have a three-way. It's not going to work.
All right. Let me take a quick break. David Crowe's with us from Restore America. Go to restoreamerica.org. That's their website. Check it out. Pastors, there is so much information on that website for you to use, and it's all free. Check it out. And when you go there, support Dave and what he does. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, welcome back. And with our good friend today, David Crowe. He is the Executive Director, President, Founder, actually, of the Restore America. RestoreAmerica.org, a tremendous resource website for you. Check it out and support him when you can. Dave, a couple things here. One of the questions that has kind of flown in the face of the Democratic side is, what is the difference between a Democrat and a socialist? And you got a socialist out there, got thousands of people coming to the rally. I have not heard the answer to that question, and it doesn't appear that there's much of a difference.
Well, it's Debbie Wasserman, I think that is her name. She stumbled at that when they asked her. You probably saw that clip. But at any rate, you're right. Carly Fiorini is calling it exactly as it is. I think Ted Cruz is as well, is that there really isn't much difference. The Democrat Party is such a hodgepodge of liberal and radical ideas now. It's amazing to me that Christians can even stay in the Democrat Party for what they stand for. But this radicalism is deeply entrenched now in America. And with Agenda 21, and you probably know a lot about that, they've come out now, that entire site has come out with now Agenda 30. But all of these things are corrupting the country. Those people are in power. They've gained ascendancy because of our absence from the battlefield. We've literally left the battlefield, and that's what has left us with what we've got. And so Christians need to stand in there and stand tall, not only for the truth, but looking for the character, because we cannot afford to put a president in that office and put senators.
Okay, we've had a little bit of a problem with Dave's connection. We'll get that straightened out here in just a moment. Again, let me encourage you to check out the website, RestoreAmerica.org. That website has a lot of resources on it. And pastors, if you want to know what you can do legally and from the pulpit, and what you can do legally as far as voter registration is concerned in your church, what you can do legally about talking about the issues versus endorsing a candidate, all of that's there. And if you need any kind of support material as it relates to the Founding Fathers, all of that's there as well. So again, RestoreAmerica.org. And it's a nonprofit organization, and let me encourage you to support David when you go to the website. All right, we got him back. David, one other quick question here. It appears to me that after all of these years, God has really given us an opportunity to shut Planned Parenthood down. After all this time, to have these videos come out, I mean, it was like, all right, I'm going to give you a chance to do something about it. And I know a lot of people are rallying and things are happening, but if there's ever a cause now that would bring Christians out of the pews into the battlefield, it would appear this would be the one.
Well, you would certainly think so, but the hesitation in Congress is actually frightening. A lot of these people are just afraid to stand up. And those are the people we need to think about replacing. Of course, the Democrats in places like San Francisco with Nancy Pelosi, they're not going to replace her. So we have to chip away at all of that. But you're right. But let's back up here for just a moment. Jeff Jimerson, 2 years in a row, when he tried to get enough signatures to stop taxpayer-funded abortion in Oregon, and we got very little response from pastors, wouldn't even take up the issue. Why wouldn't we stand for that? And so it failed both times with huge efforts on the part of many people. So here we are in America with a confused populace about this issue, less so all the time. The more people saw about the baby parts, the more they saw about that, the more repulsed they are. They should have been repulsed about abortion 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and we're not. It's out of sight, out of mind. So unless we get on the phone and call our congressmen, call our senators and say, you must deal with this now. We want this to stop. We do not want our tax dollars used anymore to support Planned Parenthood. They can get their money elsewhere. If they've got that many committed people to do what they want to do, that's fine. But we do not want our tax dollars used for abortion. So
yeah.
it should bring them out.
5 states have already done that since these tapes have come out. They have pulled the plug on state-funded abortions. And here we've had the petition to do it in the state of Oregon, and we couldn't pull that off. But now that it's back in the forefront, what an opportunity to bring it back.
Yes, it is. And hopefully someone's paying attention to the rallies. But listen, beyond the rallies, get on the phone. Use your email. Use whatever you need to reach your congressman and your senators and say no more. Make it very, very clear and indicate that you will organize people against their election if they continue to duck this issue. You have to hear from us.
All right, let me, what time I got left, let me swing you over to Hillary just for a moment. It appears that her campaign has got serious trouble. Newt Gingrich came out yesterday and says, I don't expect her to be the nominee. There's a draft to get Biden in, but Biden said, well, if I do it, I may only go 1 term. I mean, it looks like the left's got their problems, too.
Well, they really do. Really, they're at the end of their message. The radical progressive message, liberal message here in this country is at an end. And it will only go forward if the Christians sit on the bench or sit somewhere else and they don't vote and they don't register. We have the greatest opportunity, and we're going to answer before the Lord for what we do with this. And this is the opportunity for us to change the direction of America if the Lord gives us time. I personally believe that we may not get to this next election. I think with everything that Obama's doing, creating the division in this country, all of the issues that are building up, he's looking for an opportunity, another Baltimore, Los Angeles, something in Chicago, anything like that. If things start getting out of hand, he will declare martial law. And that will be the end of the suspension of the Constitution, and he will stay in office. So people need to pray and be realistic. They need to prepare for an election and pray to God that we get that far and that the Congress stands up on these issues, or Republicans are not going to get elected as much as they think they are. So that's the huge issue, is are we going to bring pressure to bear now using all of our tools? Obama says he has a phone and a pen. Well, we've got that too. We've got more than that. So let's use it, folks. Let's get our voice out there, because that's how we govern. We get to speak, and we want to speak with the vote in the election, starting with the primary. We need to be ready now to be ready really when the primaries come up this next spring. So that's what we need to do. And I will say this, if you go to our website, that homepage is under Reconstruction. Go to the tabs, look at the tabs, because the information that you want is there.
Okay. David, all right, we got 17 candidates. Who would you like to see be the top 5?
I'd like to see Carly Fiorini in that. I would like to see Ted Cruz. Rubio would be good. Also, from Arkansas, Huckabee. I'm not a big fan of John Kasich. I think he's really fumbled the ball. He's got an attitude about marriage and the law and whatnot that I think is disappointing, and he wouldn't be strong for our causes in the White House. Good guy, but I think he needs to stay as a governor. But those are the ones that come to mind right offhand.
It appears that all of those are doing quite well and could easily go into this primary cycle and do well. Carson is doing very well. Does that surprise you?
A little bit, but when I heard his view on, and I believe the tax code needs to be dumped and we need to go to a different tax, but I think he's pretty naive about how he looks at the tax that he's considering. And so I don't think a lot of people will vote for that. So if he doesn't get that clarified pretty quickly, I think he's going to start losing a lot of following.
He's doing a little bit of a backtrack of a statement that he made about rape and incest and abortion by saying that, well, if you get him to the emergency room and the RU-486 could be applied. He went on to say that he didn't think life began until the heartbeat. He has since retracted that part of his statement, but it seemed to me that was pretty shocking that he would even suggest RU-486.
Yes, and if these conservatives, if Ted Cruz and all the rest of the conservatives on there want the Christian vote, want the conservative pro-life vote, they've got to be very clear about their position and recognize that life begins at conception. And that's God's fingerprints are on it. Reject the whole evolutionary idea and really put God in the forefront, exalt his name, and exalt everything that he has said about life. And all the indications is you get right down to the facts. There's no question about protecting life. And it is life. And God's hand is in it. And we shouldn't be afraid to say that. It's time for Christians to start standing for what they really understand the scriptures teach. And if they will do that and they'll be strong about that, and I think Ted Cruz is moving forward because he is real clear on his positions and he was smart starting with Liberty University.
Right. One last question, Dave, and that is tell the pastors listening what they can and can't do when it comes to voter registration.
Well, truly, nonpartisan voter registration is recognized across the country by every Secretary of State. They cannot oppose nonpartisan voter registration. That is entirely legal. It is encouraged across the board. You can do that. You can do it in your church. It's very encouraging to your people, and they need it. And you would be amazed at how many people in your church need to re-register because they've changed their name, they've moved, they haven't been voting. And a strong call to turn out. We need the Christian vote. When 25 to 30 million evangelical, Bible-believing, Jesus-loving, born-again Christians are not voting, many of whom are not registering, that's the way to change the country. Do that. Do that, and if you do that alone, you've made a huge contribution.
Thank you, Dave. Again, I just want to say to our viewers and listeners, go to restoreamerica.org. As he said, the homepage is a little under construction, but you can go to the tabs and pretty much find anything you want. And the next big debate's coming up on September 16th, Dave, and it looks like Carly has earned a spot in the top rank. You happy about that?
Yes, I am. I think she's a fabulous candidate. I like what she says. She's clear-minded. She knows what she thinks. And that's what the American people are looking for, is someone who can think out of the Washington, D.C. box. And she does, and she is clearly, no matter what happened in the background past there, all the failures of the .com industry at that time, she emphasizes that. That's extremely important. She is a successful woman. She's smart. She's a great leader, and I think she ought to be on the ticket somewhere. All
right. And Trump, what do you think will happen? Right now, he's double digits ahead of everybody.
I think that the more he talks, the more people are going to understand that he really doesn't know. He's bravado. Yes, he's pointing out a lot of things that we all think, and he's going right along with that. But you've got to ask yourself the question, do you think he'd make a good president? Do you think he would really work well with Congress? Do you think he would really work well with our allies, or would he turn people off all along the way? And I think he's got character flaws personally, and I have a problem with that, plus his Christian worldview, which is non-existent.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dave. God bless you, pal. Best to you and Marilee, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
You bet, brother. Take care.
God bless. All right. Again, restoreamerica.org. Go there. And again, you'll see that the website's a little bit under construction. That's okay. But if you go across the tabs, look, there is so much information there. And let me encourage you to send him a donation. He works hard at this, and he targets primarily Oregon to help us here in the state of Oregon with all the issues that are going on, as well as nationwide. But support the work that Restore America is doing. Again, that's restoreamerica.org. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.